grade because I couldn't keep up, because the teacher couldn't tell me what to do. I couldn't speak English. So, where do we go from here?
Okay, let's see. So, you lived on a farm?
Oh yeah.
And
I was been in Wells County all my life. 1 year I was born in Kidder County, down there where John is.
yeah,
South of there is what they call Kidder County. I don't know where the farm is already gone, but that's where I was 1 year old when then we moved north to Heaton. There's a town over here by the name of Heaton. Then I've been in Wells County ever since,
and
except during the war.
then you were in the World War II, right?
Yeah.
Did you get drafted or did you just join?
No, we joined. I joined. My two older brothers got drafted. But,
When did you?
March of 1945.
So it was the war was almost over.
Almost over.
So did you go overseas?
Yeah. And they sent us when we got to Okinawa, the Japs surrendered. I was in Okinawa for 2 years, not quite 2 years, 18 months or something like that. I think the Germans had surrendered before March. I ain't sure. I don't know. But the Japs didn't. They didn't surrender until August or something like that in 1945. Because we was going, I think we was going to Japan. I ain't sure. Nobody tells you nothing. But but we wound up in Okinawa for 18 months. We were supposed to. Pardon?
What did you do in Okinawa?
First, when we got there, we had to get rid of the equipment that they had stored, and I don't know what they found. But then after that, I was on guard with Jap PWs. We had 2,500 a day. 4 of us guys guarded them and took them out to work. There really wasn't that much work, but we had to make them work. Move boxes and clean up the area where the American troops lived, and carry out garbage and stuff like that. But with 2,000 Japs, that's a lot. We didn't know what to do with them. And when the lieutenant came around, we'd catch heck all the time, because they were all sitting, but we didn't know what the heck to do with them. Nobody told us what to do with them. That kept on until we still had Jap prisoners when I come home. I don't know when they ever released them. It was in September, I don't know what year that was. About 2 years would make it, must have been 46. When did Orville Lumbis get married? No.
What?
When did Orville Lumbis get married?
46.
Yeah, that's when we come home that fall.
Yeah.
I actually was in the service for 6 months yet, but they sent us home. There was too many of us. I was home, but I was actually in the Army 6 months, but I was home. Come home in September, I think. October of 1946. And then we had 6 months to go yet before I was really discharged. I guess that takes care of that.
I kind of skipped over something. You were on the farm during the Depression?
My folks was, you bet. In the 1930s?
Yeah.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah. It was hard. There was nothing. Our parents didn't have anything. We had very little to eat. Nothing. The dirt blew day after day like a snowstorm. Everything. And then after the dirt storms ended, then the grasshoppers come and ate pretty near absolutely everything. There was nothing green in no place.
We were reading some things.
Yeah.
And, like the whole sky was
Yes,
totally
the
filled.
blackout, it was, that I know for a fact. I've seen that. We at them days, you worked with horses. You lay at noon hour, the horses rested, so you laid in the shade by the barn and you looked at the sky. It was just like a cloud going over. Blocked the sun out. Nothing but grasshoppers.
3-4 inches long.
Yeah, they were big. Some of them were about, but the biggest, the average was about like what you see nowadays. But there were so many. When they'd land, I mean, they were just, say like on a fence post out in the pasture, the fence post was like this. When they landed, it looked like a highline poles, just so many they just cluttered on top of each other, like a bunch of bees cluttered together. That I remember. No hay to make. What we fed was what you'd call this Russian thistle to put up for hay. No a prairie hay or the slough hay like in the highway ditches, there was nothing. Grasshoppers ate it all. I think that kept on for 2 years. I ain't sure which one, 33 was the worst or not. I mean, that's where I'm a little lack. I don't know the exact dates, but it's in the 30s. I don't know. Well, maybe you know more. If I'm reading more than I do. Could have been 33.
Yeah, he was only 9 years old then.
I mean, I remember good. We had to work at that time. And that's when we had our bad winters, too. Oh, man, for snow. 6 months you'd be snowed in. Bigger share of the time. Had to always go to school with horses.
Even when we
And everything else.
we had to go to town.
Even though we lived out there in Old Jimmy.
We had to go to town with horses to get groceries and stuff from when we were
You
first got married.
couldn't use no car all winter. Well, there was no roads like there is now either. It was just prairie trails. It didn't take long and that was blocked, so you can't go with a car.
Put blankets over the...
So we had a bobsled with a box on it.
And we put the blankets over the top so we put the kids underneath it. That was something.
Them kids were warm. They weren't cold. But, I mean, we only had them 3 miles. Some of them had to go 15. Well, down John Williams's folks had to come from down there with horses. Sykeston was the closest town to come for groceries. Yeah, if you're left out something, don't be afraid to go back. I mean, if I can recall all this. And 30s were I don't think we've had it as rough since. Even in my married life, not quite as bad as the folks had it, our parents had it. The first car I can remember was a Model T. They had a Model T.
You guys did?
Oh, yeah. Then they got fancier and went to the Model A. that was an improvement. Boy, I tell you, that was like a car. I mean, really like a Cadillac nowadays. Model T didn't have much protection. It was made out of cloth. There was no steel roof, whatever you call it. The Model A didn't either, none of them. And later on, then they made them all steel roof. They had what you'd call canvas over the top, something like canvas top, like a covered wagon would have, probably a different brand of canvas. And on the doors, that unsnapped. The bottom part was a regular door, about halfway up, to where a window would be in a car now, and the rest you snapped with snaps, brought that cloth down, and that was your car. But they didn't travel very fast. I don't know what the top speed was. If I'd ever take one of them over, she had no protection. I mean, but they didn't go nowhere very. I don't think as many people got killed as they do now, because there was no speed. But they tipped them over. We tipped over them damn bobsleds too, as far as that goes, going to school many a time. And we went to school north of Eaton. I know that our bus tipped over. We used to have a small stove in it with a stovepipe going up, had a canvas top on that school bus too. We went with horses. Too big of a snowbank, and the whole bus went. Kids come rolling out, set it back up, and everybody climbed back in, and we go again.
And you used irons, those old cast iron things, and warmed them up.
That was what you used to.
That's what you kept your hands and feet warm when you...
That was what your iron clothes was, what you're talking about. You put see that old iron, them old irons you put on the stove there to heated them. Then you had a handle affair that clamped onto that. Then we went in iron clothes until that got cold, and we went back and got a fresh one.
But I mean to keep
But they heated them up and put them in a pail.
Yeah.
And that's where the kids would sit around until that iron got cold on the way to school. And we had rocks in ours. I don't know how do you put that rock in that oven, but it was a big rock. Rock about this size. It was a hot rock when we started. It wasn't so hot by the time we got to school. Most of us couldn't even do nothing the first hour when we got to school because our hands, we had to warm up for stand around. Couldn't ride or nothing. we'd get on the bus at 6 in the morning in the winter time and come home at 6 at night, because we was the last ones off. It was pitch dark. See, at that time we lived north of Heaton, but the way the school districts are, the way they are, still are, you have to go to the school, the district you're in. We lived by Heaton, only a mile out, but we had to go 10 miles to a different school, because that school wasn't in our district. It was a country school. It's still standing. They got me at township meetings in it yet.
Was it like a one?
Well, it happened to be a two-room deal. From the first grade to the 6th grade were in one room, and then they had what they call a doors that slid shut. The rest were on that side. So that then at Christmas time when they had programs, they'd open that up, so. But we were separate with a two-room deal. That's what made things worse. I was in this room when I went to school. My brothers and sisters were on the other side. I couldn't talk English, but they could talk a little bit, so the teacher would run over there and ask what to say, and then she'd come back to me, and that's how it went, back and forth. But slowly, we picked it up, just like our parents did. They couldn't speak a word of English when they come to the United States either. But they finally, I don't think Mark would ever write, but they knew some English, but enough to sign their names and stuff. But from Odessa, Russia is where it all started, but they must have migrated their parents' parents. That must go back a long way. It must have come out of Germany because they couldn't speak Russian. And no, very a word or two, but it was all German. The same German that they talk in Germany right now, because I found that out when we was over there. There is two kinds of German over there. Some Germans I couldn't talk with, but the other one I could speak just like I'm talking English here.
You still speak it?
Oh yeah, pretty good. I haven't told, I might make a mistake now and then for a day or so if I ever talk with somebody, but oh yeah, no, I'll never forget it. Talk German pretty good, yeah.
Because like when I was in Italy, I learned a little, but I can't remember.
You can't remember them. No, see, I was born with it. It don't leave too easy. When if that's the language you were born with, then I tried Japanese, but boy, I knew a few words now I forgot them, because we had to learn a few. I don't know, when they wanted to, like, to use the bathroom and stuff, we never could figure it out. I forgot them already. Japanese that's rough. German, in my mind, was the easiest language. English was harder, or American language, whatever you want to call it. It was harder than to learn German.
Well, I've had a year of German, it didn't seem...
No, because you pronounced words, there's very few silent letters in the German language, like what I'm talking. I mean, you write it just the way it sounds, too. I mean, there's no... It's pretty easy language. You going now?
Well, Michael, we'll see you. Be good now.
We ain't gonna be here when you come back.
No, probably not.
Well, they play till 6 o'clock.
No, not all the time.
Yeah, it should be gone.
Huh? Oh, that's on the tape. Oh,
Well,
you can erase some.
I'm not pretending to tape it.
No, he's just got that
for
for...
help, right?
Oh, to help write
In
it
case,
all.
because I can't write everything.
No,
Yeah,
he's just abbreviating, and then what I'm talking, then he can straighten it out from there. That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Where are we? I'm already too
Well,
German.
we'll see you, Michael.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
After you got out of the service, did you come back?
Yeah, we come back to North Dakota. My parents lived out here, or west of town here. And then we got, I think it was a year after that, we got married, and then worked for her dad, and then we went on our own. My dad had that farm bought down there, and nobody to move. Me and Virginia moved on. And as the year went by, he sold it, and I bought it. At that time, it was $65 an acre, I know that. There was only a half section there, that's 2 quarters, 160. So as the years went by, I bought 4 more. Well, there was two down there and one north of town. That's the way it was with my dad owned. And then we've been out there ever since. That was the first move I made since must have been 47, I suppose, when we got married or something like that, or 48. Been there ever since on the farm all my life, till we moved here.
Has it been,
Must have been 41 years down there, or better, 41 or 42 years.
has there been any times where you kind of thought you might not be able to make it?
Yeah, plenty, you betcha. Lots of times, but we had no choice. There really was no place to go. I mean, jobs, there weren't no jobs, and especially for us, we only had an 8th grade education. You know, you couldn't go, you had to do hard labor regardless where I went. I couldn't have no other job. I think some of them we could have handled, but the opportunity didn't come. Didn't have enough schooling to amount to much. And the crops were, there was a few years, some years we didn't get the seed back, like we plant seed. The crop was so poor we didn't even get back what we put in the ground. Then you have to go to the bank and borrow money, and of course at that time interest was only 8 cents, some of it 7, sometimes 6. And after years get going by, then the interest rate got so high. I started out, we farmed with horses too, there was no tractors. Well, when I started, we had tractor, but when I was home yet before the war, in 1941 is when the horses got sold. That's when I was home yet. That was shortly before the war. That's when my dad bought the first tractor. That's when the tractors started coming to North Dakota. Before that, everybody had horses. Everything was done with horses, all the power. Or there was a scattered farmer here and there that had it. They were all on steel wheels too, you had the first ones.
Or did you combines in, brother?
No, there was no combines. They didn't even, I don't think the combines ever come till about 1950 sometime. Still with the old thrash machine, where you had to cut the grain, shock it up, and then haul it to the thrash machine.
Yeah, remember this one thing where they had big groups of people, hired workers.
Oh yeah, they come from, you had to have, a lot of them come from the south. They followed the harvest, you know, like Kansas and Oklahoma are earlier than we are. They followed that up, all the way up. As soon as that state was done, they'd take a train. Most of them rode the boxcars, you know, for nothing, hobos they called them, and rode the boxcars up here to the next thrashing area, and then they kept that on all the way to Canada, because Canada is later yet than we are. Even some of my brothers at one time, when we got down here in North Dakota, times were hard when we were still home. They went with the thrashing crew too, went up and helped thrash up in Canada.
So you've done pretty well as a farmer then.
Oh yeah.
Being able to stay on it.
Yeah, the last 10, 15 years, it takes a long time. I don't know, maybe not, I don't apply to everybody, but it did us. But the last 10, 15 years, things went. It took a long time. You raise a family, and they got to have clothes, and then if you buy land, I mean, to this day, if it wouldn't have been for cattle, we'd never made the land payments, because it took the land, the crops that you raised took food for on the table, clothes for the kids, and so on, you know, expenses. There wasn't much left over for land payment if you bought any. Even at $65 an acre, that sounded high in them days. Back in the 30s, though, I mean, of course, land went down $20. You could buy it. They lost stuff. Things got so bad, the farmers started losing land even at $20 an acre, and they couldn't pay for it. I don't know what this figures out to. This quarter up here, when things started getting better, my dad bought this for it's 160 acres. He bought it for $1,500. The people had lost it. So he went to Fezzinan and and paid the back taxes on it, then you owned the land. 1,500. So that wouldn't have been much. 1,500 would have been about. Well, it's 160 acres. How does that figure out? $1,500. At 100 acres at $10 an acre would be 1,000, wouldn't it? Yeah. So I suppose about $15, $20, $15, $20. That's about all they had to pay for a quarter of land. Now it's up to, well, 6. The valley is worse yet. I mean, of course we can't compete with the valley. They must have $1,200 an acre land down there with the sugar beets and stuff. Well, ours, the going rate around here, I'd say 400, 350 and through there. There is land at 600 or so, but it has to be awful good. And land has dropped some in the last 10 years. But the first 25 years, they're rough. We didn't have too much on the farm. But like I said, we no place else really to go because we didn't have the school. We didn't have much choice. In the cities, why, things were a little better for some of them. There was other jobs, but for us there wasn't. Another thing that made it rough, see, we never had the power. Electricity never come to the farms till in the early 50s. I can't tell you exactly, 51 or 52. Before that, we had kerosene lamps and everything, nothing, no power, no power whatsoever. No running water in the house, no bathrooms. If you went out to feed cattle, you had to carry a kerosene lamp. Milk cows the same way. Power come in the early 50s was the best I could say, 51 or 52 or something like that. Then after that, that really helped though too. That helped the farmer. Things started going better after you had. See, you could do more things then once the power come. See, a lot of times we had a gas engine, like for pumping water for the cattle, and sometimes it didn't work, so you had to quit in the field and go home and pump by hand. And that took a lot of time till you watered cattle pumping by hand. But when the power come, all you do is throw switches. You had electric motors on them.
So farming now is kind of easier than it was.
Oh yeah. In one way, there's two ways of looking at it. We farm more land though. You farm more acres now, but it's still, the hand labor isn't there like it was. Yeah, you bet it's a lot easier that way. But the hours, I think, are almost as long, if not longer, because we got, well, I'd say at least 3 times the land the average farmer had back in the 30s. Back in the 30s, there was a farmer living on every half section. That means 2 quarters of land. Practically every half, and sometimes even on 1 quarter. Now you won't find a farmer up to 10, 15 quarters, sometimes bigger.
There's less farmers, but their farms are bigger.
Oh yeah. Way less farmers, but the farmer, well, it just keeps adding on. As one farmer dropped out, the other one added it on, and that's the way it's been going. But as far as the hand labor goes, no. It's a lot easier to do. It's all machinery. You spend a lot of hours. Most of the farmers probably got longer hours than we did with horses, because you had to quit at 6 o'clock. Because the horses that's all the longer you could work them. They were tired. You had to quit at 6. And now you go, well, as long as you feel like sitting in there. if you're ready to try, unless there's a rat or something out of the tractor, if you're ready, the tractor's ready. Same with noon hours. You always had an hour and a half for dinner, because you bring the horses in at 12 and you didn't dare go out before 1:30, because you'd kill them. I mean, it was, especially in the summer work when the temperature got up to the 100 degrees or so. So there you had more time in the evenings. You spent more time with the neighbors visiting and things like that, because you had a long night, winter and summer. Here, where the time everybody quits, why, it's dark. You don't go visiting no more. Of course, then television come too. I mean, and people stayed home. Before that, there wasn't none. Before the power come, there was very few radios. There was some, but they were battery operated. Like a regular battery, like you got in your car. You had to get it to a station someplace where they had power and charge it up like you do. Take it home and you hook it onto your radio until it was dead, and then you went back. Most of the time they had two, have one charged. When the radio didn't play, you put a fresh charged battery on, and then you took the old one to town. So you wouldn't be without a radio. And we never even had a radio, I don't think, until sometime in the 30s. Never, our parents were poor, too poor, they never had a radio. Never had a radio, sometime in the 30s. I can remember how good. I was about 6, 7 years old. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I remember the rides to school the most. Boy, that never leave my mind. That was so doggone cold to go that far. But the power did make the farming life well, then you could compete with the city. You could have everything the city people had. Before that, you couldn't, there was no way. Farmers always said, well, they only had life like they had in the cities, because there was bathrooms and there was electric lights and whatever you wanted to do. And when the power first come, I remember that good. You had the minimum that you paid was $5. And we didn't even use it up, because we had nothing to plug in. Absolutely nothing. All you had was the light bulbs. And as the years go by and you got money, you started buying like toasters and electric radios and refrigerators, but you couldn't electric and wash machines. Before that, there was gas motor on wash machines. We had to stick a pipe out the window for, get rid of the exhaust. Otherwise, you'd kill somebody in the house. Get rid of the fumes. And that was quite a deal when you wash day come with that motor running in the house. They were pretty noisy. Yeah,
I think that'd be it.
Yeah, that's whatever you want to. If you think of anything, let me know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.